welcome back to the podcast, My Pakong Life, Binge, Brand, and Business with Story Shen. Today is actually the kickoff of Season 2 of My Pakong Life, Binge, Brand, and Business. And I want to start this episode not just by sharing a story from Poland Startup Week 2026, but also by talking about something more structural, something that defines where this podcast is heading to. Because this isn't just a new episode, this is a new direction, a new lens, and a new way of thinking about the stories we choose to tell. So, before we get into Poland Startup Week, I want to step back for a moment and talk about the shift from Season 1 to Season 2. So, here's the evolution. Season 1 of this podcast, My Pakong Life, Binge, Brand, and Business, was focused on global pop culture to business insight. That meant we were looking at media, dramas, entertainment, and global trends and analyzing them through a business lens. We were asking questions like, why does a certain show go global while others don't? Why do some cultural moments scale across countries instantly? And what can we learn about branding, storytelling, and attention from global entertainment? In many ways, Season 1 was about understanding the world through culture and attention systems. It was about observation, pattern recognition, and translating cultural signals into business insights. But now we are shifting into something more grounded. Season 2 is about immigrant entrepreneurs, cross-border building. And this is very different layers. Instead of observing from the outside, we are moving closer to the people actually building inside the system. We are going to focus on founders who are building across countries, building across cultures, building across languages, and often building without a predefined map. And the goal is not just storytelling, it's extraction. And we are going to turn those founder journeys into frameworks, mental models, decision-making patterns, and real-world lessons that others can actually apply. So, Season 2 is less about what's happening in the world, but more about who is building the world and how they are doing it. And the reason for this shift is something I started noticing over time. Behind almost every global trend I used to analyze, there are actually people building across borders. People translating ideas from one culture to another. People navigating systems they didn't grow up in. And people learning how to operate without familiarity. And I realized something. I wanted to understand more about the builders. What does it actually feel like to start from zero in a new environment? What does it mean to build when your network doesn't even exist yet? And what does it take to create something that has to work across cultures, not just within one? That curiosity is what led me directly into this Poland Startup Week experience. It was an absolutely awesome few days. I met so many inspiring local entrepreneurs and creative leaders throughout this event, and even thought my visit was short. The energy there was something I could feel immediately. There was a sense of openness, a sense of curiosity, a sense that people weren't just attending an event, they were actively building something in real time. Let me take you into the beginning of that experience. I actually arrived in Poland the night before my sections started. After checking into my hotel, I decided to swing by the event venue net space just to make sure I knew where everything was. And I remember this moment very clearly. It was around 7 o'clock at night, a light drizzle in the air, and that soft kind of cold that makes everything feel a little quieter than usual. I was standing outside of the building in full tourist mode, double checking the address again and again and again, just trying to make sure I had the right place, trying to orient myself so I won't get lost the next day. And then two people near the entrance downstairs noticed me. They looked over and asked, "Hey, are you here for the startup event?" So simple, so warm, and so unexpectedly welcoming. Something I hadn't felt in a long time since moving to the States. And honestly, that one question shifted something in me because it wasn't just a question, it was a moment of recognition. Like I wasn't standing outside anymore, I was already being let in. They introduced themselves to me, Audrey and Elf. Audrey is a staff of the event venue Net Space, and Elf is actually one of the renters. And right away, something stood out. There was no barrier, no evaluation, no why you're here, just immediately inclusion. That made me feel like I belonged there before I even had to prove anything. And I think that's something I've started to appreciate more and more about strong startup ecosystems. They don't wait for you to earn your place. They just let you enter the space and you grow into it. Then something unexpected happened. On my way upstairs, Elf introduced me to Lord Amdo. And this part still makes me laugh a little bit because I somehow got pulled into a poker event I didn't even sign up for. Lord Amdo introduced me to Roland, the host of the Founders Poker Night that night. And I told them very honestly, I've never played poker before. And they just say, "No worries, we'll guide you through." And that's exactly what they did. No pressure, no expectations, just inclusion. And somehow I stayed, I played, and I learned. And I even ended up winning a couple of big runs. But again, the poker night itself wasn't the point. The point was the environment. People were patient. People were playful. People were willing to bring in a stranger into their circle without hesitation. And that kind of social openness actually reflects something deeper about a community. it reflects trust. The next day, Elp kindly introduced me to Ferris, the owner of the net space, and he gave me a thoughtful tour of the co-working space. But more than the physical space, what stood out was his vision. He shared why he built it, what he hopes it becomes, and what kind of people he wants to bring together. And I think that's something we don't talk about enough. That isn't just a co-working space. It's more like a startup incubator for me. Space like this are non-neutral. They are designed. They reflect intention. They shape interactions. And in many ways, they shape outcomes. And one thing I really noticed during this whole experience is this. It was a short visit, but I could feel that everyone was here eager for learning, eager to connect, and openly sharing their visions. People came from so many different industries, from fashion designers to creative founders, from tech builders to startup leaders. And every conversation felt full of possibility, not forced networking, but real curiosity, real exchange, real presence. And I think that's rare because in many environments, people lead with status or roles or titles. But here, people led with ideas. One of the standout moments was a woman stories networking section. The founder, Sheikha and Renee, interviewed Ann Sabatino from Zelody, a fintech startup founder who has raised $2.2 million. And what stood out to me wasn't just the funding, it was the clarity, the ability to articulate not just what you are building, but why it matters. There were also two young founders, Fadia and Chris, building a social fitness app called Maxer, MAXR. And I found that really interesting because they are not just building a product, they are designing behavior. They are shaping how people connect through movement and social interaction. And that sits right at the intersection of tech, culture, and human behavior, which is exactly the kind of space I am excited to explore more in season 2. I also met Margie Evans, a workforce advisor helping people level up their careers. I met Ripley Dao Yinglong, who showed me how to write his name in Chinese and shared his creative clothing making process. He also spent a couple of years living in South Korea. Ripley really reminded me of my late mother, Rumei, and her creativity. Sheikha told me how to write my Chinese name in Arabic. I had so much fun learning about everyone's passions. And there's Edwin Ruiz, a strategic marketing advisor. We had a really great conversation sharing experiences and insights from the event. And at one point, I was sitting next to Edwin. I happened to catch a glimpse of his notes, and I have to say, they were incredibly structured and clean. It truly impressed me because it reminded me that behind every smooth conversation, there is usually deep preparation and thinking happening quietly. And overall, I just love the energy of Portland Startup Week 2026. The people, the ideas, and all the spontaneous moments made it such a memorable experience. But more importantly, it reinforced the direction of this new season because entrepreneurship is not just about building companies. It's about crossing borders, cultural borders, geographic borders, mental borders, and emotional borders too. So, as we kick off season 2, this is the direction we are going. Immigrant founders, cross border builders, people who start in unfamiliar places and still manage to create something meaningful. And we are not just telling stories, we are going to break them down. We are going to understand the thinking behind them and turn them into frameworks others can learn from. So, yeah, season 1 was about understanding the world through culture. And season 2 is about understanding the world through builders. And I am really excited for this shift. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Until then, keep your popcorn ready and your business radar sharper than ever. This is Story Shen with my popcorn life, where Binge